Greetings and good morning. It's bright and early this morning. It's not even 6 o'clock yet, and I'm on the move. It is day 15, and I am leaving the knock. I think I've got a 16-mile day ahead of me, but before I get to the shelter, Brown something shelter, I've got to climb the 8 miles out of the knock to Cheoah Bald. Big climb, basically going uphill for 4 or 5 hours. The trail goes right through the center of the knot complex. I should have showed this last night, and I apologize. It was a long, hard day, and I wasn't thinking clearly. But it goes across the bridge I showed, and then through that parking lot, and across those railroad tracks, and right here, I'm on the VAT, White Blaze. Our bunkhouse was about a quarter mile up to the right, maybe less than a quarter, 100 yards more. Anyway, so I'm at it early this morning. I'm about an hour into my climb. That's a beautiful sunrise. Tell you what, this is a heart thumper. Woo! Let's see if I have a little bit of flatness here, I can talk. So I mentioned the ATC last night. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy is an organization, nonprofit organization, that I'm not sure this is exactly right, but this is how I think of it. They're primarily a fundraiser and an advocacy group. And they raise money to help support the Appalachian Trail, and then to some degree they're part of the the official record of like the miles and that kind of thing. They're not responsible for the Appalachian Trail. It's the National Park and the Forest Service. Those cats have the ultimate say in what is done and what isn't done. But the ATC does a lot of good with respect to fundraising, advocacy, education, that kind of thing. I hope I'm getting the trail good here. Still trying to catch my breath. There has been a little controversy around the ATC in recent years. They took some pretty big money from a gas line, I think a gas line or pipe or something organization. And a lot of people think that they tried to keep it quiet, but I don't know that they did. Anyway, a lot of people were kind of upset about that, and a lot of people were upset at the way they handled the COVID situation. And there's a lot of folks that think that the ATC has forgotten what the T means. But there's pros and cons with every organization, and I don't sit in the decision-making bodies to know exactly all the pros and cons they have to deal with. I'm glad they're here advocating for the trail. Maybe they can get more money to get more Forest Service folks, since that budget seems to be getting slashed. So today's another one of the second and the third are considered the ATC's birthday, so I guess it's still their birthday. Happy birthday, ATC. think I've got to climb over that hill right there. Phew. Looks like the perfect place to fill up my water bottle. I'm about halfway up. Come up a long way from that river. Well, I was so focused on climbing that view back there of the river. It was called the jump up. The jump up. I don't know that I feel like I'm doing a lot of jumping. More like crawling. Crawling up. All right, the big 8.3 mile climb out of the knock is in the books. Took me 4 hours and 20 minutes. All right, 4 hours and 40 minutes. I need to double check. 4 hours and 20 minutes, 4 hours and something. I think I'm going to rest for a few minutes over here. Right there looks like a good spot for me to rest. Because wow. I really wanted to camp up here and see the sunrise and sunset, but it just didn't happen. Yeah, I need to come back another time, maybe a mid-October visit and just camp up here for 2 nights maybe. A lot of variables go into a through hike, and sometimes things just don't work out. I don't think there's any way I could have done the climb down into the knock and then up here on the same day. That'd been brutal. Yeah, it was 4 hours and 20 minutes. So I feel pretty good about that. So reflecting on yesterday's mistake, you know, I was so consumed in thinking about a future decision I had to make. I was weighing all the pros and cons, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that I wasn't paying attention to where the trail went at Tellico Gap, and I went up the Cheoah Bald on the wrong trail. And once I realized it, I had to go all the way back down and then climb it all the way up again. I don't know that I would call myself a purist. Maybe I am, but my intent is to see all the white blazes, at least all the no-bow white blazes. And if I make a mistake and I can correct it, I'm going to. I was also thinking that you know, that mistake then pretty much made the decision for me. I had to stay in the knock. It was no going on. Of course, knowing the climb I just did, I should not have tried to make it up here. I don't know, maybe. It would have been I would have been miserable. I probably could have done it, but it would have been brutal. But anyway, it's kind of maybe a a reminder on a life lesson. Don't let a future decision cloud your vision in the present, and then leaving you no option in the future. I got a construction sign on the Appalachian Trail. It's like a lot of work going on there. A lot of construction going on here. It's the Cheoah Gap. I think I've got to go down here, across the road. Downhill climb and caught me off guard. It was pretty tough. From Cheoah, I've basically been going downhill for 4 hours. My doggies are barking. I got another 2.4 to go to get to tonight's camp, and it's 2:30, so in theory I should make it, but there's a big climb ahead of me. Trying to go to Brown Fort Gap Shelter, 2.4. All right, let me close out day 15. It was a brutal day. It was a 16-mile day. We started at the Knock, climbed to 8.5 miles up to Cheoah Bald, and then spent another 8 miles climbing all the way down to Cheoah Gap, and then back up a little bit to Brown Fork Shelter, I think is where we are. We crossed the 150-mile mark during our hike today. That was kind of fun. Anyway, staying in the shelter tonight, not in a tent. I'm exhausted and ready to crawl in bed. Take care. Good night.